The Ryan and Ryan Power Hour podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. Welcome back to Ryan and Ryan here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
Before we get into Bear stuff in the next hour, we forgot that we're supposed to
preview
finish
all the teams.
Yeah, we're supposed to finish our MLB depth charts.
Yep, we got to do the Twins, and then we got the AL East.
Yes, we have one more team left in the AL Central, then we have the AL East to do, so let me get up to the Twins depth chart. Of course, it's not the best team. That's why we saved it for last, because we are predicting that they're going to finish last in this division.
Unless the White Sox just have an awful season, which it looks like they could.
They could. The last time the Sox started 0-3 was 2003. They ended up having 86 wins that year. I heard that on the radio today. So they ended up having a pretty good year after going 0-3 to start a season, and that was also a sweep in Kansas City, ironically enough.
I don't think this team's going to win 86 games.
Yeah, I think 86 is stretching it. I think the Cubs winning 86 is stretching it a little bit, but it's not out of the question.
No. I mean, the Cubs have the resources to make moves at the trade deadline.
Right, where the Sox don't necessarily have
the Sox
that.
aren't going to be able to do that.
All right, so let's take a look at this Minnesota Twins depth chart. The starting rotation isn't
good.
Right, it isn't good. It's not the worst in baseball, probably, but
is Irvin Santana
close.
Still on that?
Well, he's suspended.
I know
80
he's suspended.
games.
So I mean, is he still on the depth chart?
It says he is. Yes. I'm assuming Mike Pelfrey will be starting in place of him because it has him on the list as number 6.
I wonder if I really think that if a player gets suspended for PEDs, teams should have the right to restructure contracts or have the right to cut him without paying him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair deal.
I mean, they cheated. I mean, why should they pay a guy to cheat?
Right.
I mean,
suspended 80 games for PED use. I thought we were over this. It's 2015. People just, I didn't think people were still being suspended for PED use.
Yeah, really, that was like a 2 years ago thing. I mean, usually now all you hear is it's minor leaguers.
Right. So the rotation looks like this: Phil Hughes.
Which, I mean, it's not a bad option.
No.
I mean, I don't think he's as good as he pitched last year. However, he's not as bad as he was with the Yankees.
Ricky Nolasco, who did not have a good year last year.
No.
I had him on my fantasy team for a short amount of time until I.
And right now he's on his way to Minnesota to get an MRI on his elbow. So
more bad news.
More bad news. Yeah. Because when they signed Nolasco to his 4-year, $49 million deal, I was just thinking at the time, man, I'd rather have Nolasco on that contract than Edwin Jackson, who's pretty much on the same contract, except Nolasco was so bad. I was just kind of thinking, man, I think I'd rather have Edwin Jackson just because his contract's up sooner.
Yeah, Kyle Gibson, he's a good young arm. He's okay.
He had an okay game against Detroit yesterday.
Tommy Malone and Mike Pelfrey, I'm assuming, will be their fifth man.
Yeah, that's not a good rotation.
No, it's not. It actually could be the worst in baseball. I'm not sure. We'd have to.
Remember at the beginning of remember when the Sox traded for Samardzija and Rick Hahn said that they had one of the best rotations in baseball, or they had the best. It was one of the two, he said.
Yeah, that's not the case.
I remember when he said that, I was just like, do you know who your back-end pitchers are? I mean, you have Hector Noesi in your rotation. There's no way you have the best rotation in baseball. I don't think so.
The
Nationals have the best. I mean, if you don't think the Nationals have the best, I certainly hope the team you think has the best is the Dodgers, and that's only because of Clayton Kershaw.
Right. Yeah, those are, no question, the two best rotations in baseball.
Now, the Cubs could be up there with the best one. If Lester can pitch, have a really good year.
And if Hendricks can continue to be good,
continue to just do what he's been doing, and Arrieta is still Arrieta, the unhittable pitcher from last year, they'll have one of the better rotations too. And Hamill doesn't have to have the season he had last year. I mean, if he could have like a mid-3s ERA, we'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. The closer for the Twins, he's a pretty good closer.
Glenn Perkins.
Yep.
They've got a pretty good bullpen, I think. Do they still have Deduno, or they traded him to the Astros,
They do not have Deduno. They have Dunsing,
Dunsing,
okay.
that's who I was thinking. He's really good.
They have Casey Feen. Is that how you say it? Casey Feen.
I would assume so.
Tim Stauffer. He's
pretty good.
Yeah, he's all right. They have J.R. Graham. I have not heard of him.
That sounds like a young guy or a minor league veteran signing.
Blaine Boyer I have heard of, but I don't know how good he is. And then Aaron Thompson. So that's what the bullpen looks like.
It's not a bad bullpen. I mean, it's better that if the starting pitching can pitch 5 or 6 good innings, I think that bullpen should be good enough to get the job done on a lot of days. I mean, it's not like a Royals bullpen where you've got Kelvin Herrera, Greg Holland, and Wade Davis.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Which, I mean, I like Kelvin.
7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I like Kelvin Herrera a lot. I wish the Cubs had him.
The catcher for the Twins, Kurt Suzuki.
He had a really good year last year.
And
I mean, he had a phenomenal year. Backing
him up is Chris Herman, so there's that.
I don't even know who that is.
DH is Kenny Vargas. He
had a good year last year. I mean, granted, it was a small sample size with the September. I mean, he hit the ball hard, and he's a good left-handed power hitter.
First base, of course, is the franchise player, Joe Mauer.
Yeah, I can't say he plays like a franchise player anymore. He's paid like it.
Right. He hasn't been really that good in at least 2 years. No. I know he had that issue with his legs and his calves or whatever.
He's had a lot of. I mean, since he signed that mega deal, all he's done is like have awful, like bad injuries. And I remember the year he signed that deal, he hit 365 with 28 home runs and 96 RBIs. And then I don't even think he's hit 10 home runs in a year since.
Yeah, he probably hasn't. Second base, Brian Dozier, he's okay.
Yeah, I mean, he has 20 home run power. He signed an extension. I mean, he's never going to hit for a high average.
Danny Santana is the shortstop.
He's a good leadoff hitter.
And then Trevor Plouffe is the third baseman.
Yeah, I think he's more of a stopgap until one of their top prospects, Miguel Sano, comes up. Has tremendous amount of power. Good hitter, though. Plouffe is a good hitter.
Oswaldo Arcia is in left field. I think
he's a good young.
He was supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, he hit 21 home runs last year, except he was one of those guys that hit for a low average, 20 home runs, and a lot of strikeouts.
Their center fielder is Jordan Schaefer. I did not realize that. He was on Atlanta.
Yeah, he was good as a backup with Atlanta, and I guess Aaron Hicks was just so bad that they couldn't put him on the team.
Right. I don't think Aaron Hicks is very good. And then right field is the guy that they have back in Minnesota, Torrey Hunter. So
that was a good signing for them.
Yeah, I think it was a good signing for him. That'll be a placeholder, I guess, for Buxton will be the center fielder. Byron Buxton. Then Schaefer will probably move to right.
I have a feeling that Hunter's going to retire after the year. He just wanted to come back to Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm thinking so. I would think he'd probably retire a Twin. We'll have to see.
Yeah, one thing I'd question about the Twins, though, is their commitment to winning. Because when they built their new stadium, they built it so that Joe Mauer would not be a good hitter. Because they said his power alley is right center field. Well, they made it almost impossible to hit a home run to right center field.
Yeah, that's true. All right, we're moving on to the AL East, the last depth chart division we're going through. We'll start with the Boston Red Sox, just because they've made the most moves out of any of the teams, really, especially in the American League.
And their moves have paid off so far.
They have. Their rotation, not the best, but it's definitely serviceable.
It's got a bunch of good. It's got a lot of 3 and 4 starters.
I like to say it's got a lot of guys that are ready to prove themselves.
I mean, it's deep in terms of they don't really have any bad pitchers, except they don't have aces. I mean, it's a lot of number 3 starters, number 4s.
Right. Number 1, their ace, just because he's been there the longest, Clay Buchholz.
He had a good outing against the Phillies. I mean, it could be with him. I mean, 2 years ago he was really good. And then last year he was terrible.
Number 2, Rick Porcello. He had one bad pitch against the Phillies.
Jeff Francoeur.
And that was pretty much it. Otherwise, he did pretty well. Justin Masterson, as we were talking about, he did really well yesterday.
Again, if he's the typical bounce-back candidate, and if he can come close to pitching the way he did 2 years ago in Cleveland, they do have their ace. And it's kind of funny that they were they were the team most heavily rumored to be in on Cole Hamels, and then they go and rock Cole Hamels on opening day.
Right, yeah. That's pretty amazing. 2 home runs from Dustin
Pedroia, 2 from Hanley.
2 from Hanley with a grand slam.
The broken back grand slam. And don't forget on, I think it was the Tuesday game when Hanley almost hit another grand slam in the 8th inning. They were down 4-2. And
it was just foul or something?
No, he flew out at the wall.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think
I remember they said that if it was in June, that ball would have gotten out. It was because of the cold air kept it in.
Right. Number 4, Wade Miley, and number 5 will be Joe Kelly, but he's making one more minor league rehab start, it says down here. So right now it is Stephen Wright.
Yeah, I mean, right now a lot of teams are able to go with a 4-man rotation because of all the off days early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, Joe Kelly's a good pitcher, like a number 3 or 4 pitcher, or you never know, he could live up to his expectations of winning the Cy Young this year.
He could.
I mean, Wade Miley, he's a good number 3 starter. I mean, it's a lot of good number 3 starters. I mean, there's a lot of teams that probably would love to have a couple of their pitchers filling out the back end of their rotation.
Yeah, it's just like the team that we just talked about, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm,
I'm sure that they would like to have Masterson or Porcello on their team.
Or that entire a lot of that rotation. And Miley, I mean, they have a lot of good number 3 starters. I mean, Masterson could be a number 2 or a number 1 depending if he can either get back to the level he was 2 years ago or if he can go a level below that, just a little below that.
Koji Uehara is currently on the DL, so the closer right now is Mujica from St. Louis.
Edward Mujica, man, did he have a bad season last year?
Yes, he did. They also have Junichi Tazawa. I remember him. I think he's been there for a couple of years.
I think Craig Breslow pitched yesterday.
Craig Breslow
good
is
lefty
there.
Out of the bullpen.
Alexi Ogando is also there.
They got him in a trade from the Rangers, and they did lose Andrew Miller.
Yes, they did.
Oh, wait, no. The Orioles lost Andrew Miller. The Red Sox traded Miller to the Orioles, and then he left as a free agent.
Okay. They have Robbie Ross Jr.,
who they got from the Rangers as well.
Anthony Varvaro.
That sounds like one of their prospects.
And Tommy Lane. So those are the players in the Red Sox bullpen. The catcher is Ryan Hannigan. DH, of course,
who's the backup catcher?
David Ortiz. Backup is Sandy Leon.
No, they got him in a trade because their guy who was supposed to be the starter, Christian Vasquez, is out for the season with Tommy John surgery.
Yes, that's what it says here on the notes.
Why are all these position players now needing Tommy John surgery? It's not even the pitchers, just pitchers anymore.
Right, yeah, it's kind of interesting that happens. But yeah, Ryan Hannigan, the catcher, David Ortiz, the DH, Mike Napoli, first base.
Which he'll probably have a better season since he got his sleeping disorder fixed.
Right, and I guess Alan Craig can back him up. He can also back up in the outfield.
Yeah, they've got a surplus of outfielders. The only problem is with that surplus, they don't have like a bunch of like really, really good guys. You know, you got a bunch of like average, above average guys. I mean, you don't really know who you want to keep. I mean, I'm sure they'd love to get rid of Shane Victorino and his salary for this season, except, I mean, you know, they're not trading Mookie Betts. I mean, Hanley's the new left fielder. I'm sure they want to trade Alan Craig, except they don't want to because if he can bounce back.
Right. And, of course, Daniel Nava can back up in the outfield as well. And then all across the infield, Brock Holt can back up anybody in the infield, it looks like. So.
Oh, is he? Did he make the team?
Yeah, according to this, he did.
Oh, wow.
So he'll be playing, you know, a couple, maybe once a week or something. I don't know. Mike Napoli at first base, Pedroia at second, Xander Bogaerts at short, Pablo Sandoval at third base, and yeah, it says Brock Holt can back up any of those positions. And then left field, as we said, Hanley, Mookie Betts, and Shane Victorino right now. So, yeah, I don't know about the Shane Victorino thing. I feel like if the Red Sox really want to be a contender, Shane Victorino might not be the way to go for your starting right fielder.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not sure how good Daniel Nava is, but you could start Alan Craig too, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, you're not really going to find out what you have in Alan Craig unless he plays. I mean, you might as well because he's under contract for 4 more seasons.
Right. All right, so those are the Boston Red Sox. Now let's move on to the Toronto Blue Jays. They have a lot of promise this year, that's for sure. a lot of people are saying, finally they'll get to the postseason this year. I don't think they've been to the playoffs since they won the World Series in 1993.
No, they've only made the playoffs twice, I think, and that was they won the World Series both times.
92 and 93. Yeah, that's really sad for a team like that. For a team to not go to the playoffs in 22 years, but then also, I guess when they go to the playoffs, they win the World Series. So maybe that's what people are holding on to. The rotation looks like this. Their number